In the entire BlueLock series, Isagi's biggest op has always been the child of air and Mikasa, ItoshiRin. We've rarely ever seen Isagi, let alone anybody in the entire series, beat Rin, and you could probably only count any time any BlueLock character has been Rin on the fingers on your hand. But despite that being the case, has Isagi ever been Rin? Short answer, no. Long answer, yes. Now, you may be confused by this response, but so that you can fully understand, you're gonna have to let me cook real quick. So, where did this all start? But before we get started, if you're watching, I'm likely pretty entertaining, so sub up and watch my videos weekly. That's all, let's get started. Back in the second selection, after losing his first match against the top 3 and losing Bachara, Isagi and Nagi would need to climb their way back up to the top, beating Baro and Naruhaya, stealing Naruhaya's weapon and Baro in the meanwhile. After that, they'd face Ryo, Kunigami, and Shigiri, and they would finally be back to the top, and due to everyone being afraid of the top 3, Isagi would challenge Rin's team in order to steal Bachara back. Now, let's go to see how the game went. After Isagi fooling Rin and scoring a backheel shot, the score would be 4-4. Rin's team would get the ball back starting after their goal. After a few passes, the ball would end up to Bachara, who would get the ball stolen after being through his depression arc. After Isagi and his team would march up the field, Nagi would give Bachara a reality check, making Bachara realize that Isagi no longer needs Bachara and wants Rin instead. Bachara would try to stop this, but Isagi would juke and shoot. As soon as he thought it was over, Rin would come out of nowhere, blocking the shot. The second ball would fall down on Bachara, as Bachara's rampage would begin. Isagi would try to stop Bachara, but Bachara would nutmeg him. He'd do the same to Shigiri, and then Baro, triple nutmegging them. After Isagi would realize Bachara's awakening, Bachara would get past Baro, Shigiri, and Nagi, and shoot the ball, but it would be blocked by Isagi. But then, the ball would randomly, mercilessly, cruelly fall down on this victor, ItoshiRin. Rin's team would pick up Isagi after their victory, and they'd leave, as Isagi would ask Rin of why he lost. Rin would admit that it was luck, but luck isn't any sort of coincidental factor, Rin and Ego would say. Ego would give a full detailed explanation on the mechanism of luck. Ego would explain that luck isn't based on a pure coincidence factor, but to those who put themselves in a lucky situation, and Isagi would finally realize that he needs to update his system to accommodate the mechanism of luck. Now, before actually getting straight to the point and into the scenery of how Isagi beat Rin, we had to first see at when Isagi surpassed Rin. It's 4-4 in the third selection game. After Rin scored a goal, Hiro would apologize to Isagi about his pass, but Isagi would say the pass was perfect, and that he choked because he couldn't think fast enough. Hiro would propose to Isagi, saying that he should do it in reverse. Instead of seeing, thinking, and moving, he should be moving, then thinking, then seeing. Isagi would take his advice as the game would restart for its last time. After a bit of playing, Isagi passed the ball to Hiri, but Shigiri wouldn't let him pass by so easily. It would become apparent to Isagi that whoever is able to take control of the middle space on the field would be the one to score the final goal. He'd start rearranging his puzzle pieces as he's thinking on where to position himself, but then he gives up on taking, using Hiri's advice and feeling the field out by moving instead. In that moment, Isagi reversed how he played. After Hiri got past Shigiri, he'd pass it right into the middle area, where both Rin and Shido would try to intercept the ball to score the final goal. But then, Isagi pops out, straight out of thin air, between Shido and Rin, bull rushing his way through and scoring the final goal, winning the game for Team A. In that moment, Ego would say that Isagi had achieved was flow, and in that moment, Isagi had surpassed Rin and Shido, but had not beaten Rin just yet. Flow would play a certain role when Isagi actually beat Rin, but instead, it wasn't Isagi who was in flow. To paint the picture, this starts when there was 5 minutes left. It's 3-3 in the BlueLock 11 versus Japan U20 match, right after Rin would block Aiku's shot. The ball would fly out of bounds and it would be a corner kick. Sei would be at the corner, preparing to kick the ball. Rin would be watching and would calculate that the only person that Sei could pass to that would fit his playstyle would be to pass to Aiku. He'd be ready, but then it would go right by Aiku and right to Shido. As soon as Rin would think that it was over, his inferior version of himself, Isagi, would pop out and come out of nowhere, to block the dragon's head. U20 would try to recover the ball, but Hero would come and scoop it right up. BlueLock would start a counter as Rin would be frustrated and upset at what Isagi just achieved. That would be when Rin realized BlueLock doesn't allow him to be alone. But just then, disgusting, Rin would say, out of pure disgust. With 2 minutes left in the match, Rin would want to crush Isagi, as Rin would steal the ball from Hiri, saying that revenge, his rivals, BlueLock, all don't matter, and anything that ties him down to such a lukewarm extent is disgusting. He'd get flashbacks of his time with Sei, understanding Sei's words crystal clear now, saying that the one that should have been crushed was himself, as we'd see a berserker version of Rin, so goal hungry that his tongue was sticking out and he started drooling. This would leave Sei in shock, as Isagi would try to talk to Rin, but would realize Rin was not listening to him, and is also not even looking at him. As Rin would run down the field, Naru Teppei would come to pay a visit, but that wouldn't go so well for him, as Rin would expose Teppei's weapon, being speed, killing his weapon by using an opposite acceleration. Rin would continue to move up the field beside Isagi, as Darai Miroku would attempt to stop him. Once again, Rin would expose Darai's weapon, saying that it's slipping behind. He'd make quick work out of Darai, passing to Isagi and getting it back, trapping it with his opposite foot as he'd kill his second victim. Neo Kazuma wouldn't be so happy at Rin, charging at him, not prepared for what was about to happen. Rin would use Kazuma's weapon against him. He'd bait him as he'd use a Doberman charge. Just then, Rin would use his center of gravity against him, making Kazuma fall and nearly getting fouled for his last victim. Ego would talk about Rin, exposing the fact that what we're seeing right now is Rin's flow, a twisted playstyle that brings out the best of his opponent just to crush them. Isagi would say that this isn't the Rin he knows, saying that if Sei's playstyle is the one that destroys beautifully, Rin's is the complete opposite, a football that destroys hideously. There would be one man up to stop Rin, that being the final wall, Oliver Aiku. Rin would still be thinking of his past, trying to destroy it, and being reborn with this goal. Aiku would update the data inside of him, just to adjust to Rin the best he can, realizing that Rin is several levels higher than them, playing with a violent playstyle. Try to surpass me, Aiku would say, but Rin would keep getting better as Aiku would realize there's a 0% chance of stopping Rin. But Shido would come in, behind Rin, trying to stop him. The stats would change from 0 to 50%, being down to pure luck. Aiku would charge in to stop Rin, as Isagi would call for Rin as he'd be wide open, but Rin would tell Isagi to stop limiting his abilities. Rin would quickly feint Aiku as he'd go in for a difficult shot, as everyone would be waiting to see if the shot would go in. But then, Rin's shot would hit the post, leaving the U20 team and Rin in shock. Sei would pick up the second ball, as there would only be 1 minute remaining. Shido would hit the dash, preparing for Sei's attack. Sei would dribble past Isagi, then hit the ball over Baro and over Nagi. The bench BlueLock players would jump up screaming at BlueLock to stop him, as Karaksu would try to motivate BlueLock to stop them. Our boy Isagi would be cooking, seeing that puzzle pieces are going all around the field, seeing that Rin was going towards Sei. Sei would tell Rin that he truly doesn't believe that he can become the world's best striker, right? Sei would continue, saying that he'd live in the shadow for the rest of his life. Rin would not listen to Sei, telling Sei to stop binding his ego with his words again, saying that he's no longer Sei's brother. I am ItoshiRin, the egoist, he said as he charged towards the final matchup. Everyone would be looking at them both as Sei would start doing rapid fire scissors. Rin would charge in to get the ball as Sei would pull the ball away. He'd kick the ball over Rin's head, but Rin wouldn't stop there. He'd come right back as Sei and Rin would be grabbing each other with an attempt to get the ball. Sei would get the ball as he continued to tour around with Rin despite his best efforts. Right when Sei would pass Rin, swooping the ball under his legs, Rin would see what Sei was doing, kicking the ball in full air, full force, then would fly over them. Sei would be in shock, with everyone on the U20 team being in disbelief. The ball would fly above Aiku's head, as he'd stare at it, but instead of going to Aiku, we'd see the GOAT IsagiYoichi landing perfectly where Isagi would be able to utilize his luck, as he'd shoot a direct shot. Hearts would be pounding, as the ball would go in. and announcers would scream, "Goal!" Isagi would jump up, celebrating with his teammates as the match would be over, with even Ego cheering. Isagi would scream out the pure joy. With this, Isagi would beat Rin, utilizing luck the same way Rin did back to him in the second selection, sealing Rin's chances to be reborn and truly winning against Rin for the first time. I would narrate the interview, but I got something cooking for next Monday, so remember I post each Monday. Anyways, in the locker room, Ego would explain that Rin's awakening broke everything on the field, a part that nobody was able to respond, other than IsagiYoichi, and that his goal made BlueLock known to the world. For the first time, Ego would praise them, but saying that even though Isagi stole the spotlight today, there are still more chances in the future and to prepare themselves as he leaves the room. Isagi would praise Rin's awakening, saying that if he never taught Isagi the mechanism of luck, he'd never be able to score the goal. But then, Rin would tell Isagi to shut up. "Go die, Isagi. I'll never fucking forgive you. From this moment onwards, you are my rival. Don't forget, this means I'll definitely kill you," as Isagi would leave the room, telling Rin to try his best.